Okay, so this video will not repeat elements that were discussed in the first video, but it needs to show the second one. Now with this layer, I'm going to go with the squeegee this way, like that, so that the blend goes left to right. I'm going to set the squeegee down there, in this case, because I'm not walking all the way around. The two colors, I want it to be kind of reddish orange going to a very light green. Just like the last time, it's going to be desaturated, both of them. But unlike this time, I'm not going to use a base of white ink. If I did, I would just cover this up because the white is too opaque. Instead, I want to modify that with transparent inks. So I have two options. I have transparent base from Speedball, and I have the extender base from Speedball. On the one hand, the transparent base might dry slightly more transparent. This might dry with a tiny bit of cloudiness. Not much though. But there's one other big difference between these two items. The transparent base by itself is not a full-on acrylic polymer. So this does not dry to a waterproof. This does not dry to a plastic film the way acrylic should. This does. For what I'm doing here, if there is a slight cloudiness to this, it won't matter. It'll be fine. So I'm going to use the extender base because I want that layer of ink to be physically durable on the print, whereas this is a little bit less than durable. I think Speedball even says on their instructions, do not use this in greater than whatever it is, 30% by volume. So you wouldn't want to use this in 99% by volume, which is about what I'm going to do. Okay. I'm going to get a little crazy on this one because in the previous layer you saw me print a split fountain where I put down two colors, one on each side. And then I mixed. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put down the cyan and yellow on one side, and this orange and yellow on the other side. So I'm actually going to put down 4 different concentrated colors, and then the extender base, and then entirely mix on screen. So you can do that with split fountain, but it just means that you have to be mixing fairly carefully. So I'm going to have yellow on both sides because I need yellow to make the green. And I need yellow to make the orange. I want more color at the edges, but the yellow is going to be the only color that has some quantity even in the middle. Okay? Yellow, of all the colors, has the lowest tinting strength. And so I often need more of it than I do colors that I'm mixing with it. With the cyan especially, if I put very much of the cyan here, I'm not going to get a green, I'm going to get a blue that's slightly green. I'm going to get a cyan that's slightly green. So I'm really not putting much cyan down. I might, having removed the excess from the spatula, try to drag a tiny bit of that down, because I may not want to add quantity, but I want to increase the breadth. Good. So now, I take the extender base, and I use this for quantity. I'm going to lock the screen so it's kind of horizontal. And this stuff's a little runnier than any of the inks by themselves. So again, I need to think about quantity. If I get too much, it's going to be really hard to control because of how it's a little runnier. But if I don't do enough, it's going to run out before I finish my addition. As always with split fountains, the quantity of ink from one side to the other needs to be uniform. If it's not, the ink is going to migrate to where there is less ink. So if I put less extender base right here, once I start mixing and printing, the ink right here will migrate over to it. The ink's going to want to unify in volume. So that'll change my blend, right? So very similar. If you can't see me, come around a little bit more. I'm going to start at the top, so that the first thing that touches the blade of the squeegee is the extender base. And then I kind of fold in the color. And I'm going to mix side to side because I want a nice slow blend. I decided to make this more saturated than I normally would for what I really wanted, for the sake of the demo. But even so, I'm looking at this and I'm like, you know what? That is pretty saturated. So I might actually add some more extender base. If I would need to make really radical changes, if I need it pretty significantly lighter and less saturated, then I can't just add more extender base. I would need to remove a good quantity of the ink that I have there. But I think I want it just a tiny bit more desaturated. So I'm going to go ahead and just add some without removing any. Also, my green side got a little bit less volume than my orange side, so this is giving me a chance to kind of bulk that up a little bit. I can't set it there without risking that my inks are going to get messed up. So I'm going to set it over there. Now, we cleaned up on press because we like this idea that the registration has remained consistent. But the only way I'm really going to know that is by double checking. And it would not be good for me to assume that it's perfect. unlike last time, I don't have to worry about the ink running down and ruining my blend because I'm printing this direction so that if any running happens, it's not messing with my blend. So now instead of taking the mock-up, I'm going to take one of the actual good prints and slide it. I guess I got to slide it this way. And I'm going to put it right on those pins. And I'm going to engage the vacuum. And it's pretty damn close, but it's not perfect. I don't think the camera will be able to pick up on it, but if you look really close at the corners, you can see that it's not actually dead on. So I have to make a decision. Do I want it dead on, or is that acceptable? I am going to be doing line art. And it's going to give me a nice sort of crack. But I could probably just accept this as it is, and off I go, okay? I think I'm going to do that. But there might be other times, man, that is magical, isn't it? I love that. There are other times that I would reset it. Now, hold on, let me take that out. All right. Now I'm going to put this back down. Mix. Gather. Mix. Gather. Flood. So now, that's 2 layers of ink, right? Top layer is transparent, and it's just modifying what's underneath, which was another blend. So the orange on top of magenta does something very different than the orange on top of cyan, and likewise with the green, right? Pretty nice. So again, like your job is sometimes, how do I maximize the result while minimizing the labor? Because there's no lack of opportunities in printmaking to work hard. Mix. Blood. That's borderline unacceptable to me. The same way that I set registration. So if I see it again on this second layer, then I'll put the Artex back on there and I'll reset the registration. Yeah. And indeed it is. This one. So now the second and the third print are both more off than that one. Who knows why? Could be expansion and contraction of the paper, the moisture of the paper. But because of that, like that's a little distracting to me. particularly at certain joints of the image. So the fix is reset registration. I'm going to go ahead and pull in ink. Okay. I'll often put it on the pins, and I'll double check that. Now this one looks more like the first one. I mean, it's not perfect, but it ain't. Normally I would use my phone, the flashlight on my phone to see this really well, but we're recording with my phone, so yeah, point it right into there. Yeah, that shows me that it is off a little bit. And again, with the camera, you're probably not going to be able to see it. So now, I'll take the print off the pins and start to adjust. Every once in a while, I find that I can even leave the print on one pin and adjust just the other. I need more light again. Right in there. It's really hard sometimes to see it. Thank you. I need to adjust a tiny bit more. Right there. Okay. So now I got to take up the pins. Give it a shot. Much better. Much better. So that was worth it. There are times I have to do that 5 times to get it right. A lot of people forget too that the pressure from the squeegee stretches the screen. So you have to be a little bit of a machine. You have to have a certain amount of muscle memory about not only angle, but how hard am I pressing. Because the harder I press, the more it's going to stretch the screen from that pressure, right? So you want to have a little bit of a muscle memory of like, this is what I do. That's how I move. That's how hard I press. Okay. So certainly, if what you want to do is a split fountain layer, the double split fountain like this is not required of this project. You don't even have to do a split fountain if you don't want to. But I figured, well, I'm making a video showing you split fountain. Why don't I go ahead and show you how you could do 2 if you want, and arrive at this crazy rainbow, right? Okay, thank you, Keela.